Welcome to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, where we talk about what true self-care looks and feels like. I'm your host, Kathy Love, two-time TEDx speaker, author, and self-care coach. Each week, we'll have honest conversations on how to create the peace and stability we crave in our lives. Kimberly Arnold teaches leaders how to shift from adrenaline-driven execution to regulated, repeatable performance under pressure. Even self-described skeptics are surprised by how simple her resilient reset body-based practices are. Many describe them as life-changing. Her approach helps leaders stay composed, credible, and human in crisis, rather than defaulting to burnout or reactivity, with 94% continuing to use the practices months later. Kimberly is an organizational resilience expert and a sought-after speaker, strategic advisor, executive coach, and corporate trainer, bringing decades of executive leadership at PwC, Salesforce, and Blue Shield of California, alongside deep somatic training rooted in Aikido, Tai Chi, Qigong, Feldenkrais, and conscious dance. Kimberly, I am so excited to have this conversation with you tonight. I've been waiting for quite a while because what you do and what you talk about and what I have come to know you through in the Outlier Project where we met is this somatic healing. And it's something that I hear about, but didn't really know too much about it until you. So I'm so excited for you to share everything with the people who are listening today. The whole goal is to introduce some new ideas to people and give everyone out there the possibility of finding what works for them, because we all know it takes different ideas for each person. And so thank you so much for being here to share this with us.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. I feel really honored every time I get to talk about this work. So thank you.
So we'll start right from the beginning. Your company is called Somatic Leadership. Again, not two words that I often heard together. So can you tell us about the somatic part of that, and then we can get into how it connects to leadership?
Absolutely. Yeah. So somatic, the word somatic comes from the Greek word soma, which is related to the body, right? And the whole idea of somatic was actually intentionally bringing your body into the conversation. We've had probably now really decades of talking about this idea of mindfulness and, being mindful and meditating or maybe doing some breathing practices. The whole focus of somatic is intentionally inviting the body into the conversation. And in our conversation today, I'm happy to unpack a few truths about the body, that it's amazing that we live in this vessel and we don't necessarily know these things. But what's true is when you have your body aligned with what you're doing, where you're going, what your focus is, what your commitment is, that's really when you end up in flow.
So this may be a completely new concept for people of bringing the body into the conversation. And I love that you said that meditation and mindfulness, it used to be a new concept for people. And I think I love knowing that over the last, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years that there's been more, obviously it's been happening forever, but the conversation has opened it up to be available to more people. So when you talk about this, bringing your body into the conversation, a lot of times, and especially the people who are listening right now are really on a journey of figuring all of this out and learning how to listen to themselves and reconnect to themselves. So how do you bring the body into a conversation?
Yeah. So I often will ask people to think about, well, let me unpack a few truths with you, and then we'll kind of get into it, right? And the first truth, and most of us don't, frankly, until I dove into it, I didn't necessarily know this either. But when you look at the hierarchy of how your brain processes information, it actually processes body sensation before thought and emotion. So I often will say, think of a time that you went to touch something that was hot and you didn't expect it to be hot. Do you remember something that you touched? What did you touch?
I just think of the electric burner on the old-fashioned
Right?
stove.
Like the burner, right? And probably like the butt of your hand or something, right? Hit it. So the first thing people recall, if you think of that time you touched something hot, is you felt the heat sensation on your skin. And then your brain would try to catch up with like, what did I just touch? And ouch, I just touched this thing, right? So the reality is you're tracking body sensation first. The brain is. And research actually as recent as like 25 years ago, people have maybe heard of the idea of polyvagal theory or thinking about the window of tolerance or something like that. I don't know if those terms are familiar or not, but basically the vagus nerve is the main superhighway from sort of like your brainstem all the way down. And 80 to 90% of those nerve fibers We're sending messages from your body to your brain. So your body is actually constantly cueing your brain. Am I safe? Is it okay to be here right now? Right? Like, I think people are familiar with the idea that, they might say the body was speaking so loud I couldn't hear the words. Like that idea. Does that
Right.
resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's I think a newer concept to be thinking about the body and the nerves talking to the brain when we've been taught from children that our brain is the center and it talks to our body, right?
Yeah.
And so you're introducing something that's going in the opposite direction for us.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say, like, it's when you start to unpack it, you go, whoa, okay. Like, to your point, like, why isn't that really obvious in school? Like, it seems like, I don't know, in biology class or something, somewhere you would talk about that this is how it really goes, but this is how it goes. And so the idea of bringing your body into the conversation is recognizing it's constantly cueing your brain anyway. And when you start to recognize, like, the physical shape, the second sort of truth is the physical shape of your body, believe it or not, is cueing different hormones, which is going to cue you to start thinking and feeling different things. So you want to play a game? This is the way I like to play with this one.
Sure.
So we're right at the beginning of a new year. It's a time that people are kind of setting goals or making plans or something. So I just invite you to think about something that you're, I don't know, looking forward to or planning for the new year, whatever that is. Just think of one thing. And as you're thinking of that thing, if you want to follow along, what you're going to do is you're going to keep your eyes open, but you're going to drop your head, roll your shoulders forward, and get on like your best slouch ever. Get on your best slouch ever. And from here, I want you to notice your breath. And I want you to think about the thing that you're looking forward to, working towards, whatever that is, and notice any emotions, thoughts, whatever arises for you in this position as you think about that thing. And then as you're ready, you're going to lift your head. Imagine someone's pulling a string and your spine is getting longer and taller. You're going to open your chest and shoulders. If you have room, you can even open your arms side to side. And take a moment and turn your head all the way to the left. You can wiggle your fingertips. Bring your head back to center. Turn all the way to the right. Bring your head back to center. Imagine you're looking out at the beautiful horizon. And now think about the thing. Notice your breath. Think about this project, this idea, this thing you're bringing forth this year. What thoughts, emotions, whatever arises. You can drop your arms, and I'm curious what you notice.
So my attention was set on a vacation, and the beach being my favorite part of going on vacation. And when I was down in that hunched over space, it physically and just kind of in my mind felt dark. And so there was this huge amount of light that came out when I opened up and could kind of feel like the sunshine, the beach, the whole picture of it. So that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. What's true is that physical shaping of our body. Now, we did it in a little bit more extreme way, but there's little ways, if somebody makes a comment that didn't land very well for you, there's some part of your body that's going to start to constrict, right? So I often will ask people, where do you notice that? It might be tightness in your jaw or your throat or your belly or, butterflies in your stomach, whatever that is. When people start to feel a little agitation, something in their body is starting to message to their brain, I'm not sure it's safe here. Does that make sense when I say
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea of when we're in a stressful situation of thinking a positive thought, when people will say, well, just don't think about it, or just think about something positive or happy. What you're saying is it's impossible to do that.
It's, well, people, you can train, like you can, but the reality is once, particularly if something has happened that really feels like a threat, right? So a couple months ago, I was in a car accident, and that was a threat. I can say, it's like somebody suddenly pulled out in front of me. I couldn't quite stop in time. And what's true is when you're in that high pressure moment, as you said, you won't be able to remember, because what's happened is you're going to get a shot of adrenaline. The adrenaline it literally tells your brain, take the blood from your brain, put it in your large muscles, your arms and legs, get ready to fight, flight, freeze, whatever your reaction is, right? It's already prepped your body to do that. However, what's true is after the shot of adrenaline comes, there's a gap. And if you start to shift your body and know how to shift your body in that gap, you can actually reclaim your composure, your calm, your strategic thinking. But what's true is, as you said, in that moment, your brain won't remember. But what's been true with clients I've worked with individually and teams I've worked with, when they start making little shifts in their body throughout the day, they build the physical muscle memory and their body will go there. So when the car accident happened, I will tell you, my body immediately went to long exhales. Right afterwards, I was like, oh, take long exhales. Okay. Because I knew long exhales were going to lower my heart rate. And then I was like, I need to get out of the car and shake. Because once you have a bunch of adrenaline, the best way to get it off is to physically shake. And I got out of the car and shook. And then I looked out to the horizon. And then I could go and engage with what happened.
And then when you've brought your body into that lessened state of threat, then you're able to think clearly, more positive. So did you always, were you always, was that always your first go-to? Take some deep breaths, shake it off, look at the horizon.
Always no, absolutely not. I I had my 30 plus years working in corporate settings. I left a number of them due to stress, or at one point I had to take a 15-week medical leave due to stress. And what I realized on that leave, honestly, that leave was really the impetus for the work that I do now, because I had spent every vacation for 15 years studying a whole range of practices in the body. This is what I did every vacation. And I trained to teach some of them. And, it became it was my jam. It was the thing that I did. And I had to really face the fact of, oh, right, when you're around a bunch of people who are reactive, maybe you've heard of the idea of mirror neurons. I don't know if you've heard of mirror neurons, right? Like if I show up and I go, hi, it's like with a baby, you can, I just was with my little cousin today who's like less than a year old, and you just go, hi. And they have no idea what you're saying, but they're reading the expression, right? And so what you're looking to do is to really get to this place of training the body. And what I realized was you can make these shifts very quickly. And when you practice them throughout the day, then your body knows to do it.
Mm. So the practice that you've been doing over time is what prepared you in that moment where there was the car accident, let's say.
That's right. Yeah. For the last 2.5 years, every day I've been working with people on making slight shifts. And so, but what's true is I've had clients make that shift under pressure within 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating how quickly the body can learn a new pattern. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, think about that when you go to the gym and you're trying some new piece of equipment you haven't done before. It feels a little awkward initially, but it doesn't take that many reps before you kind of get it.
Mm-hmm. And then before you want to do that again.
Right.
Because that felt good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So how does this connect to leadership? Again, this is
okay. How many of us have been, you've been in the room, right? You've been in the meeting and somebody makes the comment and you watch all the heads go, ooh. They're trying not to, or they're like, kind of like the fake smile, like, oh, I can't believe they just said that. We've all been in those situations. And, I always appreciated, I know I've heard Mel Robbins speak about the idea of the leader brings the weather. Mm. How many times have you heard that? Oh, so-and-so's having a bad day, look out, right?
Right.
Or, oh, it's a good day today, you should bring that up.
So you are working with leaders of companies, corporations, so that they can affect the weather in their companies.
Well, and what's really, yes, and I'll say what's really my jam is teaching these practices to teams. Mm. Because now as a team, when you start to learn, a part of it is getting familiar with how does my body respond under stress? Because what my body does is going to be different than your body, and right? Everybody's going to have something that tightens, but it's going to be different things, right? So part of it is starting to build your own awareness. But then what I teach teams are simple shifts that they can make in seconds. And when they practice those together, then they all get to show up being thoughtful, being kind, being strategic, being collaborative, right? As soon as the conflicts are happening, I promise you, people are in reactive mode. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just, my brain is wondering, how do you get leaders to understand this when it's not something that they learned in business school, when it's not something that everyone is talking about, right? So,
right. Well, I will say I'm still on an education journey, so I appreciate the opportunity. And the leaders who've come to me, so I worked with one SVP at one of the largest health systems in the country. She had a team of over 400. And we took these practices to the whole team. And a part of why is because their function is actually talent acquisition. So they're out trying to do hiring for an organization of 200,000. And when that perfect candidate doesn't land exactly at the time, they would get blamed, right? So they were having to navigate a lot of, I will say, kind of challenging energy coming towards them. And even though they had programs in, I'll say resilience, because there's been a lot of resilience programs in the world of healthcare, none of it was landing. Everything was always being delivered as, this is something you individually need to handle. And what's different about my approach is the leaders say, no, this is a capacity we're going to build as a team. And so they really take on, no, we're going to build this resilience capacity as a team. And then when the challenging thing happens, we can all go, okay, everybody feeling a little tenser on this one? Let's do one of the practices and make a quick shift.
That sounds fantastic. It sounds like a dream of a place to be able to go into to work, a dream of a place to lead when people can regulate themselves and be able to come out of those perceived threats that we find happening to us all throughout the day, all throughout the week, and be able to think clearly and come up with solutions. And it really does sound amazing and not a dream because it's actually happening. If when you're talking about a team of that size, 400 plus, what is something that you could do that you could lead them through to experience how this?
Well, all of the different practices that I teach, we unpack typically in a 90-minute interactive workshop. And I follow the method. It turns out to be the same learning method as the Harvard Business School, I found out from Francis Fry, which is we start with, you're going to do some of your own self-awareness work, right? So this idea of starting to unpack, how does my body respond in a stressful moment? And I'll give people a little, kind of table to fill out. So they're kind of tracking, oh, these are all the things that happen for me. And what becomes really important in making this shift, there's two things, I think. One is really understanding why this matters to you, right? And so in every workshop, I'll always ask, why do you want to make this shift? And I've literally had people show up to go, because I got to prevent a heart attack, because I'm reactive with my spouse and family, because, I want to do well in my job, like whatever it is, there's some real whys. But one of the main things that drives behavior change is living into an identity. And so in the case of that team of 400, the identity we chose was for them to be resilient rock stars. And that was one they could get behind. Mm-hmm. And so when they would do their own self-exploration, we typically go into a breakout room. You're kind of sharing some learnings with a small group so that you can get every voice being heard and engaging in what's happening. We come back together and go into those insights and practices as the large group. And then everybody gets to walk away with, what's a reflection, what's a tip, what's a something. But what becomes really important is, how do I integrate it into my day? And so we also give them specific techniques of how to do that. What the latest set of, we did one when we went through the exercise before of rolling your shoulders forward versus opening up. That opening up is a really simple way I just refer to as expanding. And it's the idea of recognizing whenever I contract, can I go ahead and expand, right? And the way that if you were looking at any gymnast, that when the Olympics was on, I was sort of watching this moment and going, right, they do this every single time. If you watch any gymnast, like before they do their floor routine or anything, what do? They throw their arms.
They do.
They put their arms up in the air. And this is like a moment of my body is ready.
That's amazing. Right. So I can see how you can teach, impact a large group of people, as opposed to when I think about doing a lot of the things that we talk about and doing the work, it seems to be one-to-one or small groups. I love that this is something that you can really teach through them experiencing it, really. You're not just teaching it, but you're letting them experience how that feels.
Yeah. And that's really, again, I think the combination, what was so striking for me, because with that team of 400, we literally did a Zoom with 400 people and whatever it was, 86 breakout rooms or something like that. And we got immediate feedback. 98% of the people gained value. Months later, 94% of the people were still using the practices. And I think a huge reason why is because, this matters.
Absolutely.
It matters. And the next time that you go snap at somebody who you care about, you go, okay, maybe I could take a little long exhale before I respond next time.
Right. Or you make a decision that you might not have made had you given yourself that extra breath, that extra pause, that extra relaxation in your body to feel what the right answer is.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And then for every program that I do, everything gets put together in simple acronym. I did a LinkedIn Live recently where I did what I call the grow practice, and it comes together with a lovely little card and ways to remember, like, oh, these are the shifts. Okay, I want to, as you like to say, like, I want to teach them how to fish. I really hold this vision of, imagine a world where we pivot from adrenaline-driven execution to regulated, repeatable performance.
Yeah. When I imagined a company doing that and said it was a dream, I can't, it's hard to imagine living in a world that would be like that. But with lessons like this and practices like this, it really is possible. It's far more possible than we might think it is. I believe
It's
that.
Yeah, it's incredibly, it's immediately impact. Like, you felt the immediate impact when you made that shift. And everything that I do is very experiential. And so I think a lot of it is people feel the immediate impact and they go, "Oh, that was pretty good."
Hmm.
Okay. So there isn't so much a convincing, again, because we're actually involving the body in the process.
And it's accessible, right?
Super accessible. It's available for anybody. I kind of go, follow whatever you want to. I mean, one of the ones, it was interesting. I was assisting at something called the Conflict Lab at the Berkeley Haas MBA program, the weekend MBA program. And they brought some somatic practices in, which I thought was fabulous. And what I could notice was, even then, the students didn't totally get the value. Like, before they were starting one of their practices, they would, like, raise their hand above their head with an inhale and take an exhale and bring their arm down. Well, I watched some of the students and they were like, but I can track that and go, right, if you actually elongate your spine when you take the inhale, then you have a long exhale, you're ready. And so I think there still is more to go for us to understand, but literally that slight shift, you practice it throughout your day. The moment someone's saying the thing and you can feel yourself getting ready to react, and you go, okay.
Yeah, that little pause. It's so, such a small, simple tool, but it's so powerful if we take the time to practice it and learn it and understand how it works and build it in. I've heard you talk about a resilient reset. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes. Yeah, it became, um, for lack of another way, I'll say it became my sort of branded way to describe what these shifts are. I kept referring to them as micro practices, and
Yes, that's
even
right.
everything from, like, it's interesting because even the research from all the positive intelligence work, which I know that has, been a big sweep for many people, a lot of what's built into that are simple little resets in the body. And so I called it the resilient reset, out of the idea that this is the reset you're going to make that's going to help you access your resilience in the moment, right? So a super simple one, the beginning, I flashed that card before of what I call the grow practices, but the beginning of that one is finding ground. And this is a simple thing, like, whenever you feel like your head is spinning, there's too much going on and you have a sense of overwhelm or whatever that is, if you take a moment, we could do this together now, and just go, I'm going to find my feet. I'm going to really press each foot into the ground. I'm going to feel, in yoga, they'll talk about the idea of the four corners, like underneath your big toe and your baby toe and inside and outside your heel, and just really feel your feet. And I know for me, when I do that, I can feel like, oh, I was probably holding a little tension in my lower back, and that totally relaxed. And as soon as you start relaxing, around your hips and your lower back, you'll start relaxing your jaw. It's all connected. I'm
I felt
curious.
a little yawn come in too as I grounded down into my feet. That exhale came out, that yawn came out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the idea of the resilient reset is just my, um, you know, kind of branded way of talking about making these slight shifts, but being able to make that reset in the moment so that you can show up with your resilience intact.
And so I know just being in your presence when you are regulated and you are calm and you are breathing, it helps me. And that's some of that mirror neuron. But um, that's the way that that's the one of the reasons why when we do the work, it's so important because we can impact the people that we come into contact with.
We we are impacting every person we come in contact with every day, and I think this is the part where, in this world of AI and layoffs and so many things that I think, it's like you could hear all those and I could feel my own body go, like you can almost feel the contraction that's going to happen around it. And so my take is that actually knowing how to do these shifts for yourself, knowing how to do these shifts with a team, while I will say it's a relatively small investment of time. Again, like I can give you the basics in 90 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time. And when you start incorporating even 5 minutes a day, it will change everything. And so that for me is the kind of the excitement of it, because again, it's sort of like, it's like one of those things like micro investment, macro return. Like who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah. I love it so much. It falls into the easy to do, not always easy to remember, but easy to do, simple, always accessible, inexpensive, and just something that,
Well, I mean, inexpensive. Yes, you yourself can come to an individual workshop and get a lot. And I think the value that teams get for doing this is incredible, right? Like they're going to get immediate return on productivity, collaboration, effectiveness. I mean, frankly, when you look at a more regulated nervous system and you look at the research around that, I know I talked to one company, and next to parental leave, stress-induced leave is the second top reason why people are taking leaves of absence. It's definitely driving sick
absolutely,
days. It's driving attrition. I mean, I spent my first 13 years in management consulting at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I had gotten the golden ticket. They paid for me to go to business school. I got voted into the partnership, but the project that got me voted in, I went up to a client for 4 days and I came back 28 days later
wow,
because that's what was needed.
wow,
And I looked at that and I said, I don't think this is going to be the lifestyle for me.
right,
And so even though I had all those things going for me, I said, thank you. And I ended up making a pivot. So, I know organizations are losing people.
right. Losing people, losing time, losing money.
Yeah, because the
Absolutely.
stress is just too much. And these are slight shifts, again, that when you take them on as a team, well, now you're around, to your point, like if everybody showed up kind of calm in the meeting,
Right,
you could actually get the work done.
right. And after that investment that a company can make, the tools that you're teaching the people on the teams, once they've learned that, that's not costing them anything, right?
No, well, and beyond that, everyone says, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best parenting, tips I ever got." Or
Right.
this is going
Yes.
to help me. Like, like they see an immediate impact into their home life, into their communities. I'm active on my a local community board, and everyone comes to me like whenever something happens that's a little activating. Everyone's like, "Okay, channel your inner Kimberly.
Right.
Don't
And
respond yet. Take a
and
breath."
yeah, and even having employees, people on your team who are calmer parents and their home life is calmer and not causing them as much stress when they walk into the office,
Yeah.
that is it is just better for everyone.
It's better for everyone. And frankly, I've had plenty of leaders who then take these practices home. They do them with their kids.
For sure.
My nieces of the heart, when they get super activated, their mom will be like, "Okay, we're going to do Kimberly's shaking practice. Let's go."
I love that. Well, that's like the dog, right? Dogs shake it off. And
Yeah,
I
same.
think I had heard you talk about that before.
It's the same, right? Like if you like the reality is animals know. I saw this in Africa. It was honestly 30 years ago, but we saw a lion take down a gazelle. And the first thing it did was it dragged it to cover, but then the lion shook for like 20 minutes, expelling all
Releasing
that
all that
excess energy.
adrenaline and right, all that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I love talking about this. I'm so thankful that you are sharing this with everyone today and appreciate everything that you've taught me about what I can do here and how it just makes everything better. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. And what I'll say is, I am really excited because I do have opportunities now if somebody individually wants to come learn how to do that. So I offer a public workshop about once a month, and all that info is available on my website, resilientreset.com. And then, as I said, I'm really loving working with leaders and teams because we can help them build this capacity, which is, it's not saying, it's interesting because I think particularly people who like work in sales, they have this idea like, we need the stress, you need the pressure, you need, right? And sometimes that takes an impact. And so this isn't saying, oh, you should just show up totally relaxed all the time. What this is saying is, okay, there's times when actually the stress is impacting my ability to focus. It's impacting my ability to be skillful and strategic and thoughtful. So what you're looking, and they technically would describe, like, there's good stress and then there's bad stress, which is the distress. So this is really around how to help you know how to discern it and make the pivot back to the good stuff, in those high pressure moments. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I am so grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, I will definitely put all of the links so that people can learn more from you, connect with you. I'll put everything in the show notes. And I definitely encourage them to do that. It's been just great getting to know you and learn from you. So thank you.
Yep. And then I want to encourage us to finish the way I finish every workshop,
Please.
which is the moment where you raise your arms in a V and you just get to go, yay.
Yes, I love
the
that.
Yay. And it's just
Yay.
and what's true is the research even shows when you raise your arms up, it like immediately lifts your mood and it lifts your energy. And, so this one is available anytime.
I love that. I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
That was super fun.
Great job making time for yourself today. Be sure to subscribe to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, wherever you listen in. Your 5-star review will help get this show to whoever needs to hear it. Go grab your free daily self-care checklist on my selfcareshit.com. Please take the last minute of this podcast for yourself to listen to the ocean waves and breathe.